Welcome in. Going to have a little bit of fun this morning, early this morning. I mean, like, it's been a while since I've been on here, and I've basically been spending a lot of time on my podcast, but uh, sending them in a chat room. Yeah, I'm still wearing my Dallas Cowboys. I know we lost, so I'll get to that later. But I'm going to be talking a lot about some HBCU news, HBCU sports. There are some things that are changing the landscape on the HBCU scene. And I know there's a few out there putting some reports out on HBCU, but I want to be one of those few because plain and simple, the HBCU need to be shown some love, not just where it's at, but also in parts where there's no HBCU. One of my goals is to experience the HBCU experience, the Black college football experience, the games, the band, the halftime show. It's my goal to experience that. So in today's broadcast, I am going to be looking at some HBCU, some NFL, some NCAA college football playoff. How do you think the top four are looking? And some NFL Thanksgiving Day football that happened upon yesterday. Yes, I will put my bias aside and basically break down what I think happened with the Cowboys. Just the short end of it right now, it was their defense that let them down. Dak and the offense did what they could to win the game, got it into overtime. The defense let us down, bottom line. But we will get to that later. What I want to do is get into some HBCU news first and foremost. As one of the things we're looking at here is Florida A&M is back in the FCS playoffs for the first time in 20 years. Not to mention that they are also in the latest ranking coming in, I believe, at like number 21, number 20. So that's two schools from HBCU schools that are in the FCS top 25, with Florida A&M being one, and of course Deion Sanders and his Jackson State University Tigers. We believe they're in there as well too. So the FCS playoff committee announced that FAMU will travel to play Southeast Louisiana in the opening round. The game will take place on November 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern. FAMU defeated rival Bethune-Cookman 46-21 on Saturday in the Florida Blue Football Classic to finish the regular season at 9-2. Its lone two defeats were to SWAC East champion Jackson State and FBS squad South Florida. Southeast Louisiana finished the regular season 8-3. Good for second in the Southland. It lost to FBS Louisiana Tech and Nicholls State, which got the conference's automatic bid. FAMU is the first HBCU to get an at-large bid to the FCS playoffs since 2016, when North Carolina A&T got a bid as a 9-2 team as the MEAC runner-up. It becomes the first SWAC team to make the playoffs since Jackson State accepted an auto bid in the Division I AA playoff back in 1988. The SWAC has never won a playoff game in 19 attempts, with Jackson State making it. Florida A&M, however, has been the most successful Division I HBCU in playoff history. It won the first ever Division I AA, now FCS national title back in 1978. It has made 7 playoff appearances, including 6 in a row from 1996 through 2001, and has a 5-6 record overall. It beat Troy State in 1998 and Appalachian State and Troy State in 1999 for its most recent wins. The Rattlers head into the playoffs, averaging 29 points per game while giving up just 15.1 points per game. That defensive average was second in the SWAC to Jackson State and among the best in FCS football. In other HBCU related news, Shy Odom commits to Howard University. So last year, you noticed they had Makura Maker, who was a 5-star athlete, and things just didn't pan out. Injury and COVID issues, and they shut him down. And shortly after the season was shut down. So now they got a 3-star commit. Shy Odom isn't the highest rated commitment in Howard University basketball history, but he is a big one. The 6'5" wing committed to Howard on Tuesday evening. The 3-star who plays ball at Sierra Canyon High School in California made his announcement via Instagram. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey, Odom wrote in his caption. I'm excited to announce that I'm committing to Howard University. HU, let's work. Odom is ranked as the 52nd best power forward in the country and 28th best prospect in California. Odom is originally from Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. He spent the last 3 couple of years at Sierra Canyon alongside LeBron James Jr., aka Bronny James. Bronny James is currently a member of the class of 2023 and was offered by HBCUs like North Carolina Central and North Carolina A&T early in 2020. As for Shy Odom, he had scholarship offers from USC, Tulane, Penn State, Boston University, and Georgetown. The commitment comes almost a year to the day that 5-star recruit Makura Maker made his debut with Howard. He suited up for 2 games before injuries and COVID-19 impacted his season as well as the programs. Howard ended up having to shut down its season in February, and Maker left the school to pursue his pro career. Howard has rebounded nicely from the difficult season, getting off to a 4-2 start. Moving right along. The Mideastern Athletic Conference, MEAC, has announced the hiring of Alexis Robinson, who will join the conference as the Senior Associate Commissioner for Administration and Compliance. She says, I'm elated to have Alexis back in the conference office. Let me try that again. She says, I'm elated to have Alexis back in the conference office. MEAC Chief of Staff, Chief Operating Officer, and Commissioner-elect Sonia Stills said. She has come full circle from an intern into now the Senior Associate Commissioner and Administration and Compliance for the MEAC. I'm excited for the future of the conference with her as a part of the leadership team. Robinson comes to the MEAC from Villanova University, where she served as Director of Compliance, Financial Aid, where she was responsible for maintaining a comprehensive program for all athletic financial aid activities and serves as one of the department's liaison to the Office of Financial Assistance, Bursar, Residence of Life, Bookstore, Procurement, and Dining Services. Prior to Villanova, Robinson was the Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Immaculata University, where she implemented various diversity education programs and initiatives for the Department of Athletics and Recreation. Robinson was Assistant Director for Student Services and Senior Woman Administrator at Hampton University, her alma mater, from 2012 to 2014. And prior to that, she spent 3 years as Director of Student Athlete Support Services at Howard University. She also has experience in compliance from both Temple University and Norfolk State. Robinson graduated with a BS in sports management from Hampton University in 2003 and a MS in kinesiology from Indiana University in 2004. So there are some news regarding some HBCU, which is historically black colleges and university, some things that are going on that are changing the landscape as we know it. So moving right along, and I'm not through with the HBCU. We're looking at the Bayou Classic has a new twist for this Saturday. And this is one of those things I definitely want to experience before this lifetime is over. I want to experience the Bayou Classic. Anyway, there's a twist to it. This year's Bayou Classic will be like none other for a few different reasons this Saturday. On the sidelines, both Grambling and Southern University will have interim coaches leading the program. For the first time ever, both coaches will be allowed to communicate directly to players while they are on the field. It's not only a first for the Bayou Classic, it's a first for college football. The NCAA announced this week that a coach can speak directly to one of his players on the field who has a receiver in his helmet. This unique situation was made possible after the NCAA Football Rules Committee approved a special waiver. There are rules, there are limitations to this rule, which the NFL has been using for decades. According to the NCAA, these are the parameters in which players and coaches will be able to communicate. Coach to player communications must be switched off by a neutral party designated by game management when the play clock goes below 15 seconds and must stay off through the end of live ball action. If there is a total failure for either team system, communications will be shut off for both teams until the issue is resolved. Each team will be allowed to have 8 players who have helmets that can receive communications, but there can only be one player with a helmet receiver on the field at one time. On special teams plays, one player from each team may have a receiver on the field. Each team is required to place an identifying sticker on the back of each helmet that contains a receiver, making it clearly visible to officials. This can be a game changer for college football, Southern coach Jason Rollins said in the release. When we found out that we were going to have this opportunity, we called around and spoke to a few NFL people on how this can help. They all had positive things to say. It keeps the players focused on the game plan and how a play should be executed. Test run. Saturday's game will provide a data point on how effective this practice can be on the college level. There are many technology initiatives that have been discussed in the NCAA Football Rules Committee, and coach to player communications continues to be the top technology request from our coaches to study. National Coordinator of Officials Steve Shaw said in a statement. With approval of the rules waiver for this specific game to allow a test for this initiative, I look forward to getting feedback from both schools on the value and feasibility of coach to player communications. The college game hasn't previously used the communication system because of cost and other operating logistics, the NCAA said in a Monday release. So there is a first for HBCU schools, and some people say, I don't want to be a guinea pig or nothing, but this is that time where being a guinea pig is a good thing. You get to be the first one to test it out at the college level. And just think about it. When you think about cost, how oftentimes it's those black colleges that are underfunded when it comes to cost issues, as opposed to the PWI, which is the predominantly white institutions. So the fact that it's being tested out at the HBCU level says maybe there are some inroads being made. And before I move on to any other topics, because there are coaching rumors that's going around, and you've heard the name Deion Sanders name come up in coaching rumors, even while he was in the hospital. To which he addressed that and said there was more things on his mind besides coaching football. He was right fighting in a real fight for his life, so to speak. And he made a point of emphasis when he said there was a lot of people. He said there's more than just TCU that was interested in his services and what we do at Jackson State University. Notice he said what we do at Jackson State University. I'm going to say something that will probably borderline controversy, but I do not apologize for my statements that I make. I believe in telling the truth, and the truth of the matter is you have HBCU schools, the MEAC, the SWAC, the CIAA. These schools where predominantly Black colleges play in. And then you have the PWI, which is the predominantly white institutions. You have your Alabamas, you have your Clemsons, you have your Ohio States, your Oklahomas. You have your TCUs. Why would I mention them? They are the one that was up. So what is the correlation that I'm trying to get at? Well, to me, in some aspects. And feel free when you see this feed, if you're looking at live or whenever, if you're seeing a repeat broadcast of it, feel free to chime in. You can agree or you can disagree. You have that right. But I also have a right to speak my mind and how I feel about things. And my thing is, if something becomes a threat, you go after it. I have a coworker where I work at. He said it won't work. He said it won't work for HBCU schools. It won't work. And this is also a man of color, one that looks like me. Okay. All I could think of is the fact that when not trying to get on a soapbox and preach, but Jesus addressed his disciples when he said, "O ye of little faith." And that was my thought. For you to say it won't work, "O ye of little faith." The spokesperson and the face of HBCUs right now is none other than Deion Sanders. He's going in ruffling feathers, saying that there should be conference realignment, there should be conference mergers. He says, look at the SEC, how they have expanded, and you got like two divisions, to which he made some sense. Well, eventually, Tyrone Wheatley, who's also coaching at one of those schools, said, hey, you know what? It does make sense. Look at Jackson State University right now. They're ranked in the top 25 in the FCS. Them along with Florida A&M University. So if you feel threatened, what you do is you go after what's successful on a level below you and you try to pluck. Now, how does this correlate to slavery? Oh, you didn't know I was going to use that word. The master always looked out in the field to see who was the best performer out in the field. And whoever performed the best and was on best behavior, he had privileges to come into the house. And I'm kind of condensing the story down so I can bring you this correlation. So back in slavery days, you had two types of Negroes. You had the field Negro, and you also had the house Negro. And the house Negro had more luxuries and amenities that the field Negro didn't have. So when you look at the predominantly white institutions as opposed to the HBCU schools, the predominantly white institutions have more amenities and more funding as opposed to the HBCU schools, those who are underfunded. So now you have this guy named Deion Sanders, who is blowing the whistle loud and clear for HBCUs, not just for Jackson State, although he wants his program to be the top. but he wants to bring others up with him. You get this? Hope you're getting this. So when you have one on the magnitude of a Deion Sanders, who, by the way, really has nothing to prove. He's college Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. Basically, he has 3 Hall of Fame jackets. So trust me, he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need notoriety. He doesn't need the fame because he has all that. But what he's doing is he is giving back to a because Deion Sanders played at Florida State, not Florida A&M University. But he's seen how things were going with these HBCU schools. And yes, there's been some players that come out there, and that's going to be my next segment or my next video. But Sanders has seen how these players get overlooked come NFL draft time, and he wants to be someone to help change that narrative. So what happens? His name gets pushed up in rumors. Well, that would upset an Apple Card, but he's let it be known. They want to know what it is we're doing at Jackson State because they, the others, want to emulate or they want to pluck. I say Deion Sanders doesn't have to go to a Florida State. He doesn't have to go to a TCU. Doesn't have to go to a USC. To that one that says it won't work, I say it will work. Right now, as we speak, Deion Sanders is up for the Eddie Robinson. Get that Eddie Robinson Award. Now I'm really getting ready to go somewhere with this. Deion can go to the predominantly white institution, may be successful for a few years, have a down season, they be calling for his job. Or he can stay at Jackson State University and be the reincarnation of the man whose award he is up for. So what do you think Deion Sanders should do? If the big house come calling for him, should he go to the big house? And when I say big house, I'm not just talking Michigan and Ohio State. I'm talking about these schools that can easily seat 70, 80, 90,000 fans. Or do you stay at Jackson State and build the house and be the reincarnation of one Eddie Robinson? It's just something to think about. That's off script. Nothing you see, I'm looking directly at you. So this was basically off script. Nothing prepared. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move into another area. I'm going to talk a little bit of college football playoffs. We'll look at the college football playoff rankings. Do you think they got it right, at least for right now? Do you think they have it right? Is Cincinnati deserving of their top 4 ranking? I know some are going to say they don't play anybody. That may be fine and dandy. Maybe they don't play anybody. But if they're on your schedule, you have to play them. You have to win. You know, they only had 1 loss all of last year, and that was in their bowl game to guess who? The number 1 team in the country, Georgia. And they were within like 3 points of winning that game. So, are they legit? Are they deserving? Or would you like to see someone else in that top spot? Which will then lead to the discussion of expansion which we know expansion is around the corner, but would it be a little bit too little, too late for a team like Cincinnati? What happens if Georgia puts a beat down on Alabama in their conference championship game, which would then thus give Alabama 2 losses? That basically, in essence, drops them out of the college football playoffs. But then you have Michigan going up against Ohio State. What happens if Michigan, who already has 1 loss, should knock off Ohio State? Do they have a case for being in the college football playoff? Remind you, Michigan lost to Michigan State and still some way leapfrog Michigan State in the rankings. So what happens if Michigan beats Ohio State? Then Ohio State has 2 losses. That drops them out of the rankings. Do you leapfrog Michigan past somebody in the rankings? Maybe say a Notre Dame, because now there is talk that all Notre Dame has to do basically is win out. And because of their record, which will only have 1 loss on it, do they have a guaranteed spot? So it remains to be seen. So my question to you is, if Cincinnati wins out, which they play today, then they win their conference championship in the season undefeated, do you keep them in that 4th spot? One thing I will say, if Ohio State wins out, they're in, no doubt. Maybe no one else except for the people in the state of Ohio. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind seeing a college football playoff game pitting the 2 Ohio schools. I imagine the TV ratings would be high for that. National ratings possibly could be high for that. Yes, I wouldn't mind seeing Ohio State versus Cincinnati. They don't play during the regular season. Kind of reminds me of where I'm at right now. Wichita State doesn't play against Kansas in basketball during the regular season, but they have their number in the NCAA tournament. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe because of what happens in the NCAA basketball tournament, the NCAA college football playoff committee does not want that to happen in the playoffs. Or go back some years, they don't want to see another Boise State, Oklahoma fiasco. The bottom line is the NCAA have to save their bottom dollar. And at the end of the day, it's all about generating revenue. Alabama generates revenue. Georgia generates revenue. The SEC generates revenue. Clemson on a good year generates revenue. Notre Dame generates revenue. Ohio State, that's a cash cow. It generates revenue. The Big Ten generates revenue. Oh, but the mighty Cincinnati Bearcats trying to claw their way into respectability. Put them in the playoffs. Let the kids play the game. They deserve it. They put in the work. Cincinnati versus Ohio State, I believe that'd be a revenue-producing game. If they win, oh well. But me personally, I say until they come up with a loss, someone beats them, I think there should be a lock in the college football playoff, thus making it the first time a team outside the Power 5 makes the college football playoffs. So now we move on to the NFL. There were some Thanksgiving Day games, and I'm probably going to get roasted because of the fact I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, but oh well, you know what? Defense made some timely mistakes. Some calls were obvious, some calls may have been somewhat questionable, but I'm not here to whine and complain about the officiating. But the Dallas Cowboys are frustrated about amount of penalties and overtime loss to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Dallas Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones made it clear he did not pin his team's 36-33 overtime loss to the Las Vegas Raiders on the officials. But he also made it clear he wasn't pleased that they affected the game. The Cowboys and Raiders were each penalized 14 times in Thursday's Thanksgiving Day game. The Cowboys were awarded a franchise record 166 yards off those penalties. The Raiders 110. And I'm gonna make this a point of emphasis because this simple fact. There's a chat group on Facebook called Dak versus Romo. There's gonna be a lot of people in there saying, well, if this was Romo, blah, blah, blah. And Dak put up the numbers, but once again, he didn't deliver the victory. This was not on Dak. 166 yards off penalties, that's a key factor. The defense giving up 509 yards, that's another key factor. Last I checked, Dakota Rain Prescott plays quarterback, not defensive line, not linebacker, not defensive back. Dak didn't give up 509 yards of total offense to the opposing team. Dak didn't commit 166 yards worth of penalties. Let that sink in. In the third quarter, Cowboys cornerback Kelvin Joseph and the Raiders safety Roderick Teamer were ejected following a scuffle out of bounds after a punt. The final swing of the game came on a 33-yard pass interference penalty on Cowboys cornerback Anthony Brown, who did not turn around for a deep pass thrown by Derek Carr on 3rd and 18 from the Las Vegas 43 that set up the game-winning field goal attempt. Well, this probably will be arguably the most watched game other than the Super Bowl, and I hated that it got down to just throwing the ball up and getting your penalties to get your big plays, Jones said. And I think we were into that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm so proud of our team for the way we hung in, and came back and played. But it's frustrating for everybody, for all of our fans at this particular time, to have a game that had you on pretty unsure footing as to where you were going to be with your fundamentals, i.e., whether those were going to be called or not. And they got calls too. So it's just a little off balance way to play the game. But it wasn't surprising. In meeting with Mike McCarthy before the game, Jones said there was an anticipation that it would be a high penalty game. Entering the contest, Sean Hochuley's crew threw the fifth most flags, 153, and had the third highest penalty yardage, 1,207 on the season. 28 penalties. I don't really know what the hell you want me to say, McCarthy said. Write whatever you want. I'm all for it. The Cowboys have been among the highest penalized team in the league all season. They moved into number one in the league after Thursday's game with 91 for 816 yards. Ouch. 816 yards? Some running backs don't get that in a whole year. The Raiders are second with 89 for 785 yards. It was obviously frustrating, McCarthy said. The game was herky-jerky from start to finish. Give our guys credit to continue to focus and battle. The numbers are absurd. Definitely understand that. But just like everything in this game, there is trends and patterns, and we anticipate this game being officiated this way. But in the same breath, it's the line that you have straddled. I don't want our guys slowing down and playing slower. We've tried that already, and that didn't help us over coaching the penalties a few weeks back. We're going to get up on the balls of our feet and keep fighting. We've got to really focus on our fundamentals and finish plays. We'll take a hard look at it. We evaluate the penalties every week. We break them down, and it will be part of our fundamental emphasis as we get ready for the Saints. Brown's penalties accounted for 91 yards. He is the third player since 2000 to have been flagged 4 times for defensive pass interference in a single game, joining Trayvon Mullen and Xavier Howard. Brown called it one of them days, although after one breakup in the second quarter, he appeared to fictitiously looked for a flag on him from the officials. As a DB, you definitely got to have a short memory. On the next play, Brown said, "We're in it until the end. Unfortunately, that last penalty was crucial. We've just got to keep fighting. We can't control when the ref is throwing flags or not throwing flags. We can't argue with them because it's not going to change anything." Micah Parsons was called for a roughing the passer penalty when it appeared Carr fell into him. "I think we should be playing football, not tag," said the rookie linebacker. The Cowboys also had potential fumble recovery overturned in the first half after Javon Curse appeared to poke the ball free from tight end Darren Waller. The replay official determined the pass was incomplete and McCarthy could not challenge. "I was actually on the sideline with my helmet off celebrating with my teammates," Curse said. "I can't control the call that they make. I can't control that. We're just going to keep playing football. To each his own. You can turn the film on every day on and everybody that watches it can see what went on. I haven't seen the play. I just know from my point of view that I thought he was running with the ball personally. Like I said, it's the officiating that we got tonight. We just have to live with it." So there you have some news on some NFL talk, mainly what happened with the Cowboys and the Raiders. Moving right along, Matt Nagy is thankful for how Bears handled distractions to pull out win over Detroit Lions. Matt Nagy could let out a sigh of relief on Thanksgiving. With all the scrutiny the Chicago Bears coach faced regarding his job status over the past week, the 16-14 victory over the Lions made him extremely thankful for a much-needed celebration as they snapped a 5-game losing skid. When there's distractions, which is in every sport, in all facets of life, there's always going to be distractions, Nagy said. It's how you handle them. And again, we got the win today, and it could have went a lot of different ways. Yes, they could have lost. Probably deserved to lose. Then you start hearing the chants, "Fire Matt Nagy." I mean, he hears that at the stadium. He hears "Fire Matt Nagy" at if he goes to a Chicago Bulls game, they're chanting "Fire Matt Nagy." But here's where I think it might be a little bit overboard. When he goes to his son's high school game, fans there are chanting "Fire Matt Nagy." I think there need to be a cutoff. I don't think that's appropriate because not only are you voicing your opinion toward the coach, but you got this coach's son playing in the game. Imagine the embarrassment and scrutiny he has to go through when he goes back to school the next day. And they say, "Hey, why were they chanting that at your daddy?" And then he has to answer questions that really aren't his questions to answer. So people who are watching this video, and if you're from the Chicago area, if you're one of those ones doing that, I just want to say 2 words: stop it. Just stop it. If you want to go to Soldier Field or wherever the name of the field is, if you want to chant "Fire Matt Nagy" there, by all means do it. Baseball season is over, but if you went to a Cubs game or a White Sox game, if you want to chant "Fire Matt Nagy" because of your frustration, you could do it there. If you want to go to a Bulls game and chant "Fire Matt Nagy," by all means, you paid for that ticket, you paid high price for that ticket, you have the right to do what you want to do, almost. But when it comes to his kids' high school game, for the love of God, have a little bit of class and dignity and respect. Don't do it there because you're not just trying to embarrass the coach. Think of the scrutiny you putting this man's son through, that he have to answer questions that he really shouldn't have to be answering. He is not his daddy. He's a young kid trying to improve his game to make it to the next level. Don't put that kid through that. He goes on and says, "But the reason why we got the win is because of how they handle the distractions. You know, that's where, to me, when you're in this business and you lead people, it's my job to make sure of honest and open communication. That's that's where, for me, I just can't tell you how much this win means today to me because of what they did. Controversy surrounded the Bears this week after Patch.com reported on Tuesday that the Bears had already informed Nagy that Thanksgiving's game against the Lions would be his last, regardless of the outcome. Nagy firmly denied the report, calling it false. And Bears team chairman George McCaskey addressed players Wednesday, reinforcing to them that Nagy would not be fired after the game. Although the players wouldn't go into detail about the meeting, quarterback Andy Dalton said the outside noise didn't come within the team as it was able to close out the win with a last-second 28-yard field goal kicker by Ciaro Santos. The Bears drove the ball 18 plays over the final 8 minutes and 30 seconds of the game before kicking the game-winning field goal as time expired for their first win since Week 5. I think that, like I said, there's a lot that has gone on, said Dalton, who became the first Bears QB with a 300-yard passing game since Nick Foles did it in Week 9 of the 2020 season. The most important thing is the guys in the locker room staying together throughout it all, regardless of what's being reported, regardless of what's going on in the outside and stuff. There's still a lot of season left. For us, the focus is on winning games. I think that's the biggest thing for us, is just doing everything we can to put our best foot forward and to make the most of the next one. And that was today. And we did that. Now that the Bears have a win, Nagy is looking to go about his business to keep his team locked in. Nagy said he hasn't allowed the chatter about his team to hurt his ability to coach the team, and that it hasn't affected him on a personal level because of his support system in place. He hopes to continue that with everything now cleared up. Again, for me, there's only my understanding, which is what it's been since the day I signed up to be this coach, is to win as many games as I can possibly win and do it the right way, Nagy said, of his understanding of his job security moving forward. When you lose 5 games in a row, you understand. When you're 3-7, you know that territory it can get to. You know what I mean? That comes with the job. I knew that 4 years ago when I took this. And so here we are. Every week is a little bit different. This one was definitely different. This is one of those weeks where you use it moving forward. You don't make any predictions, but what you do is when you go home on that plane tonight and everyone's having a good time because they're able to celebrate and have fun watching the tape and enjoy their Thanksgiving and get back to being healthy and understand what games are next. But the only game that matters is Arizona coming up. That's it. So again, for me, the only thing I can say to those players is that I appreciate them. And we have a hell of a group of guys, players, and coaches. And they showed it today by getting a win. So there you have my rant for the day. Hope you have enjoyed it. Also, want you to go ahead and check out my podcast. I'm going to also put that in the description below. Have to re-edit that a little bit so you can also check out my podcast as well too. And tell me what you think. I would love to have your feedback. Do here is I'm going to go ahead and just verbally give you how you can get to my podcast link. I have that right here. So if you're watching and you want to get your pen and pad out or put it in your cellular device or whatever you use, it's https:// anchor.fm/Anthony-Smith34. That's https:// anchor.fm YouTube.com/Anthony-Smith34. That's where you can find my podcast at. And I like to really engage with people. So feel free to leave comments. I would love to see your comments. I will do my best to respond to your comments. But do me one good favor. After you see this video, share it with others. I want to build this up. I want to engage with you all. And as I learn this Facebook, oh Lord Jesus, as I learn this YouTube live stuff and learn how to start streaming more and learn how to bring people on, that way I can interact with people while I'm doing this, that'll just make it all more better. So, but please do me one favor, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and I'll be back with some more content. Trust me, I'm not going to neglect this. I will be back with more content. Your feedback will be greatly appreciated. Hope you are still enjoying your Thanksgiving Day weekend, not just the day, but the weekend. And every day, I just want to give you my words. Every day should be considered a Thanksgiving. Every day that you wake up, you open your eyes, you have the activities of your limbs, you know that you're breathing. Just be thankful, all right? Don't just wait to that one day of the year, but just be thankful every day. It may not be what you want that day as far as life issues, but the fact is you're still up and you can fight through it. As they say at Jackson State, we believe, or as a professional wrestler said in his own song that he said running out the ring, he said like this: never give up. Believe in yourself and never give up. Those are my words of wisdom for you for today. Well, until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. Have a blessed day. I'll be back with you again. This is yours truly, Anthony Smith. Don't forget to check out my podcast and leave comments for me. I'll be glad to read your comments and I will be glad to respond to them as well. Take care. God bless.